Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call a meeting to order. This is the Wednesday, March 27th, 2019 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. The first order of business would be to entertain a motion to take our last item out of order and place it first.
I'll make a motion to bring the last item up to first.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, this is the this is a notice of intent for a project that will be on our agenda at 2 meetings from tonight. The project location is 4858 66 Townsend Ave, 800 810 Varnum Avenue. And this is the notice of intent filed on behalf of the community of Khmer Buddhist monks to construct a religious temple. They have sent in a letter, and perhaps you'd like to
Sure.
what you're requesting.
Yes. David Fieldsen from Lamplex. Unfortunately, Matt Hammer, project engineer, as well as the presenting attorney, could not attend this evening, and so we're requesting a continuance until the April 24th meeting. I guess as well, they will be replacing a project sign, which I understand was 3 feet by 2 feet instead of the 3 feet by 4 feet required. And additionally, I guess Matt Hammer had met with the city engineer as well as a representative from the wastewater department and is waiting for some technical information from them to review prior to the meeting. So those are the reasons for our request for a continuance.
All right, we do have a formal letter as well to that effect, and the continuance is until the April 24th meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. Do we have a motion to continue?
Sure. I'll offer a motion to continue this hearing until the April 24th, 19 meeting.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Great. Thank you very much.
We'll see you then. Thank you. Now returning to our regular order of business. We have a request for determination of applicability filed by Sutton Management. The location is 293 to 311 Pawtucket Boulevard, the Camelot Court 1, I believe. It was a request for the replacement and repair of the existing pool, not the pool, if I understand correctly, the pool deck and the equipment shed in the bordering land subject to flooding. This is continued from our last meeting, and we had requested elevations, which we have here now. If anyone would like to see the large-scale copy. It's a fairly flat area, but we were concerned about them not putting any more material, raising the elevation of the floodplain at that location. So we now have the existing elevations on this plan, and when the project is finished, the final elevations are due to match what we've got here now. I don't think we need a motion to accept. This is just part of our requirement that we asked for last time. Is that your understanding, Christine? Yeah, okay. Does anyone have any questions about the plan? You have a tiny one on your desk. This is much easier to read if anyone wants to take a look at it. Elevations are all around 99 to 100. And it's fairly flat. Okay, moving on then. We have some new business.
Do we need to issue a -3? Yeah, I don't think we've.
Oh, very good, Caitlin,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, we had held up the determination until we got this plan. So would someone like to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion to issue a -3 determination.
I'll second it.
Any special conditions? No? Any more discussion of it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. passes. So negative 3 means comes under our jurisdiction, however, it's not going to adversely affect bill or we have some new business, and notice of intent of the LTC group on behalf of National Electric Company.
Oh, good. Mine just broke.
Yours broke. Thank you so much. That's okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. It's gonna be a group effort.
Sure, and I will introduce my contingency as well. I'm Melissa Kaplan with the BSC Group, representing National Grid, and I will introduce everybody that's here. This is Marley Sullivan. She's also with BSC Group. This is Brendan Maurer. He's the engineer with Burns and Mack. We've got Gary St. Fleur. He's with National Grid Outreach. We've got Orlando Martinez, he's the project manager, and we have Corey Schutzman, who is the environmental with National Grid. So we should be able to answer all of your questions tonight. And I know that we did not provide like a formal response to Pat's email or letter, but I figured I'm prepared to answer all of his questions if you guys wanted to ask any of those questions or had any of those concerns. So. I will. National Grid needs to rebuild their substation along Boulevard Street due to its age and condition, as well as the growth in the area. So we've provided the existing conditions here, which shows that the entire parcel is in bordering land subject to flooding or the 100-year floodplain. The proposed rebuild is shown here, and we'll use basically the entire parcel, and we'll put the new infrastructure, which is going to be slightly larger due to the sizes of availability of the infrastructure now, are a lot bigger than the original infrastructure that was from like the 1970s, I think. So what's being proposed is new transformers, a metal-clad switchgear building, pervious pavers, so there's no impervious other than the infrastructure at the site. Because the infrastructure is in the floodplain, National Grid has an initiative as well as through some engineering publications to elevate their infrastructure at all their substations in floodplain at either the base flood elevation +2 or the 500-year floodplain, whichever is greater. In this situation, they have chosen to go +2 over the base flood elevation. So everything's going to be elevated up on piers above that base flood elevation. So there will also be sound walls being installed around portions of the perimeter in the specific locations that are conducive to keeping the noise down. Some of the transformers have a very, very slight hum, so a study was done and determined that the sound wall was needed. There will be some tree clearing, as you guys I think are familiar with, and therefore the site will be replanted with trees that provide land screening and as well as some nicer. We tried to make it as nice as we could while still providing some good screen cover, without getting things too tall that would be in jeopardy of falling on the infrastructure. There's also, because there's not a ton of impervious on the site other than the new stuff that's being proposed as well as the sound wall, there is going to be a stormwater management provided at the site with a small stormwater basin, some perforated piping around the perimeter, and some spreader swales up in this corner here. So that's the substation. Also, as part of this, they're adding some new underground conduit within Boulevard Street. It goes all the way down to the intersection with the main street that's down there. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it. But as part of our plan, we only included the portions that were in bordering land subject to flooding, which is maybe like 6 houses down from the sub. So in our filing, I forgot to print that one in 24 by 36, but in our, on the aerial map, that has where that conduit is going. So I have that. Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, it is here. So that's this is the existing. Yeah, so this is the road and it'll go in here, come into here. There's also an existing easement on site, which you can see on this. Here to here, runs all the way down. There's an existing distribution line that runs there, and so there's going to be 2 poles that are being replaced in kind, but that's completely within the easement, but is just outside the parcel on the northern property there. I think that's basically all.
Why is that just off the parcel?
Why is it?
Yeah.
That's where they're located. They're in the easement, so they have an easement to in the past to have the poles there. That's just where they were
Oh, so you're
located.
just replacing them in the same spot?
Yeah, right next door, yeah.
Just a couple clarifying questions, just for the project going through the plan.
Yep.
So it looks like the topography ranges in elevation somewhere between, I think 96 and 101.
Correct.
And your plan is to flatten the grade to about 99 across, and then it looks like you got 2 detention ponds that are gonna,
Just one.
in the back, yeah.
Just the one.
All right. I don't know why it looked like 2.
Well, this might look like another one, but that's just loam and seeded.
Okay.
It's not
But-
really-
But basically, that's where your on-site stormwater management conveyance system's gonna
Flow to.
flow to. Okay.
Correct.
And it looks like, from looking at the plans, there's a small net increase in flood storage, correct?
Yes, just because of the amount of grading at the site, we're getting a lot of extra storage by bringing the site down in certain locations where it was higher.
Okay. And do you anticipate any environmental contamination from the past, PCBs or anything like that? No?
Have we done any of that testing or anything like that? I don't believe so. If anything, there might be some stuff like in the actual infrastructure,
Yeah.
and all that's will be contained and shipped off-site to appropriate locations. Okay. There's not anticipated to be anything in the soils, I don't believe. Right. And if so, everything's staying on-site. All the soil is staying on-site, right? I don't think we're taking.
Yeah, but if there's a release that's detected under the state's CP plan, you'd have to issue a release tracking number, right?
Yeah, I mean, I misspoke. There will be removal of sediment on site, so it will have to be tested before it gets taken. Yeah.
Thanks. Those are just kind of important project details, so thanks.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's where I said I misspoke. They will be taken off, so there will be a need to take some off-site due to all the grading, and those sediment that are going off-site will be tested to make sure they can be appropriately disposed of in either the landfill, or if it does end up exceeding thresholds, then it'll be put in an appropriate location. But I don't think we're expecting anything.
Do you mind walking me through the function of the level spreader? I'm having a little trouble just connecting the infiltration basin to the level spreader area that's right next to it, that he was looking at the 2 basins.
I'll let Brendan
Thanks.
talk about that if you want. My stuff's gonna fall, so. Sorry.
Hello, my name's Brendan Maurer. I'm a senior engineer with Burns & McDonnell. There are actually 2 level spreaders on the site. There's one just north of the infiltration basin, and there's another one to the east of the infiltration basin. Is the question more general or about a specific one?
Yeah, I guess I had missed the one to the plan up. I guess I don't have my orientation. Which way is north? Up, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I hadn't noticed the one to the north. It looks like the one to the east takes the water from the south and east side of the site,
Correct.
and then
There is some off-site runoff that we're intercepting, so it doesn't flow into the substation yard or into our infiltration basin. And so the level spreader functions, I call it a subsurface level spreader. It's basically it's like a 3-foot deep trench filled with crushed stone, and the pipe discharges into another pipe that's embedded in the stone. And as the water level fills up, it reaches the surface of the ground level,
yeah.
which is intended to be level, and then it overflows.
And this will run north from that level spreader?
Correct.
Both of them, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, good.
And that's the existing drainage pattern now.
Fine.
Does that answer your question?
Plenty.
Okay.
So you're containing all of your runoff on the site itself, infiltration?
Absolutely.
I got a general question, just looking at your table here of alternative analysis. I'm just curious if National Grid, looking at, seems like reading through the report, there's a lot of talk in there about, building in resiliency, and that's a good thing. I'm just curious, is any of the thinking ever take place where you're looking at, potentially rebuilding outside of the floodplain? I mean, I recognize sometimes it's hard to secure properties, but
Yep.
I'm curious if there's any sort of deliberation on that at all, or is it just automatically, well, it's here and we're just going to rebuild in the existing?
I think it's always gonna the first option is probably gonna be build where there's land and the infrastructure is already existing, because we already have the distribution right away, because we have the underground conduits already there, because we already have all the connections. It makes sense to just always go there first. And because this parcel is large enough for them to be able to do that, they did not look off-site because there was no need, I don't believe.
So is it fair to say these substations kind of serve as a central hub and everything kind of connects there, and you're not just talking about relocating the footprint of that substation,
Right.
you're talking about rewiring, so to speak,
It would be probably more work to remove all the stuff and put it somewhere else than to just build on-site.
Understood.
Yeah.
Were you subject to flooding about 10 years ago when we had,
I believe there was
6
flooding
and
one
7.
time, but I don't think it was 10 years ago. I think it was much, much earlier than that. But I think it was only the one time. So, this is more, like, that's why it's being more of a resiliency thing, because the chances of it flooding to base flood elevation is probably pretty minimal, but with the future, you don't know. And I know I've been to this commission and presented to you many times, and I do know that flooding is a big concern for you guys in this city. So I made it very clear to everyone that we needed to make sure that we fully compensated for everything, and we did all that we can to maintain flows on site.
Melissa, could I
Yes.
mention something else?
Sure, Brendan would like to say something.
When Melissa was giving her overview earlier, bringing this up because of your questions about resiliency, the 100-year plus 2 or 500-year, she indicated we were going with the 100-year plus 2, but we're actually going to the 500-year, which is in this case it's way higher than the 100-year. So we're at the elevation is 105.6 versus 101, or what would have been 103.5. So we're over 2 feet higher than than what Melissa stated. So we're elevated really high above the floodplain.
so just to get a picture of this equipment, it's all It's perhaps not enclosed in a building the way the other one was?
Correct. This is open
And
air.
it's raised up into the air, like the lowest would be 7 feet, I think?
Correct. The
Okay.
lowest would be 7 feet. Let's see.
Yeah, the yard grade is around 99, and the equipment's all around 105.6.
Yeah, so 7 feet.
So, the sound barriers, on the north and the east, was there any reason why the west wasn't included in that? So you do have some houses just opposite your driveway.
West. So this side?
No, the west
The
side.
west is where the field
Right
is.
on the front side. I believe that because the equipment is set back further, maybe it wasn't necessarily needed, but we also didn't want to make the substation like a big fortress as well. But I don't think it was needed, right? Orlando can probably speak more to that.
Hi, I'm Orlando Martinez. I am with National Grid. I serve as the project manager for this project. One of our concerns was we really wanted to blend in with the community as we are in a residential area here. And when we did our sound study, we found that there were critical areas that we needed to make sure that we met the sound ordinance. In those areas that we put the sound wall up were critical. The other areas, we met the ordinance at our property line and didn't want to put anything there just so that we don't give the appearance that you have a fortress in the middle of a neighborhood. So we tried to be more surgical while still meeting all the appropriate ordinances.
I was just, what was I gonna say? I just wondered about that because, you know, it is a residential neighborhood. And it does take up considerable, you know, you don't have sound barriers now. Has there been a problem there with noise?
Actually, we do have, it is, right now, there is a barrier around all of our transformers, and we have worked with the neighbors already. And that's why it was critical for us to address it early on with this new redevelopment of the substation and with the resiliency. One of our key items is that this substation has been in existence for about 50 years. And we needed to design something that needs to be here probably for that time period while still meets all the needs of the community currently and also for potential growth. So some of the things that you see here, we want to make sure that we blend in, but we want to look at the long term because this substation has been here for almost 50 years.
Where you have the sound barrier right on the property line, it seems like, if you set it in a little, wouldn't you have room for trees to hide that barrier?
Actually, we are set a little bit away from the property line. And Brendan, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 3 to 6 feet that we are away from the property line.
It's 4 feet.
It's 4 feet from the property line. And due to our security concerns, we don't put trees. Our policy for security reasons throughout our system include a sort of a standard that we don't put vegetation too close to any barriers of our substation so that no passerby, nobody can go into our substation. We want to make sure that our substations are now protected, especially, you never know these days what can happen. So our security teams are very key in making sure that we keep vegetation as far away as possible. One of the features that we have designed into the substation is in the front, in order to have those trees in the front very close to our fence, as we have a double fence. On the north side, also, to be able to have trees within our property, we have a double fence. So just for security reasons, we need to make sure that we keep vegetation away from the fence or the walls.
So no trees on the outside of the fence, but you're not planting any trees on the outside of the barrier?
Correct.
So we also colored the barrier to be a kind of nice green to try to make it more like vegetation as well. It's not going to be like a big metal wall. So National Grid's trying to do everything they can to make it look
What
nice.
is it going to look like? What material is it going to look like? 'Cause
So I have some visual simulations that I don't think I provided you, but I have a copy if you want. Can I bring it to you?
you know, you know, it's not really our thing, but, you know, the residential area in it takes quite a bit of
So in this one here,
substructure.
this is from far away from across the cornfield, but you can kind of see the green there, and then this is how it's going to look from the front, which you can't really see the. So this is current. This is proposed.
So that's a rendering in that one.
Yeah. The other side, there's some more.
No, that's all.
So this is the back side, so you can kind of see the wall here too.
Yeah.
You really just notice the trees now.
Curious what you had said about the trees against the sound wall,
Yes.
and, you know, on the east side, we do have both.
Yes. So you know, in certain situations, you can see that there are trees that are close.
Sure.
In those situations, we do have a wall there, and we have enough space to squeeze it in. But I do, you know, here is 4 feet. We also have the perforated pipe that's going there, and unfortunately, on the other side of that is not our property. So we didn't have enough space to put that in, as well as the stormwater management, I think.
I don't really have any issues with it per se. It just seems to contradict what you'd said about the trees being next to the sound wall.
Yeah, on the back side, we do have the trees right next to the sound wall because we
That's where they fit.
they fit. Over on that side, they don't fit. There's no way to put them in. We are possibly going to do what we can to maybe get an easement along that. It's a paper street right there, and so that may mean that we need to get everyone along that street to get approval. So that may be a little bit too complicated. So I don't know if we'll be able to put trees in a paper street.
Yep.
So we put trees every place on the property where we could in terms of safety, in terms of spacing, in terms of keeping away from the stormwater management.
Just, are there any options as far as the exact placement of this main substation? Like, theoretically, could it be slid in different areas? I'm just curious.
It has been moved as many as to the exact spot of where it needs to be in terms of setbacks on the property for zoning, in terms of keeping away from the existing substation, because
I don't want to get into
yeah.
the.
The answer is yes. It has to be where it is.
It has to be where it is.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think it's gonna look better, because I went out there today and it just looks a little run down. And although the trees are nice and mature, they just look, again, everything just looks like it's from,
Overgrown.
yeah, it's overgrown and stuff. So I think it's gonna look good. And I did count, you guys are planting 61 trees and 92 bushes, so that's more than there's out there now. Yeah, again, it was just like a lot of dirt and,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we've worked really hard to make it, thanks to Orlando, to really pushing to make it look as nice as we can, getting as many trees as we can in there, working with engineers, being like, come on, work with us here. If we put in a tree root block, and all that, can we get it in there? And we were able to get as much as we can out there. And I mean, look at the renderings. I think it's gonna look nice.
Yeah, and I think too, like with having those, the bushes and the gate up against closer is gonna just have better curb appeal than what's out there now. Yeah, I was like, ooh, this is kinda ugly, so. And then another thing too, on the sheet with the, compensatory storage volumes, I totally trust you, but I think next time if we could just have like, maybe, like a topo, existing topo versus the new topo, cause I kinda like to,
I mean, yeah.
I kind of had like all these maps out to like, and
Yeah.
it kind of made sense. The existing, this one had like existing topo, just,
Yep.
this one is just a little busy, so you can't
Yeah.
really.
So just a map with just topo.
Yeah, would be nice, just,
Existing
but
and proposed.
I think we're good. I mean,
Okay.
at the end of the day, you guys
Next
are,
time.
I think we'd like to have that for the file, if you must have done one at some point, probably.
We can get you that if we want to condition it.
Yeah.
I don't know
Okay.
about that.
A
Yeah,
A
'cause
heat
then-
map. A cut fill heat map would probably be the easiest, since
Say that again?
a cut and fill heat map would probably be the easiest thing to do for this.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, and it's great you guys are, you're adding 417 cubic yards, so, yeah,
Yeah,
good stuff.
great.
So is this the point we see if there's any comments from the
Public?
public before we
Oh, yeah.
close the hearing?
I am shocked there is no one here.
Have you had contact with the abutters out there?
We have. Gary, would you like to speak about that? I have everyone here for your questions.
Good evening, thanks for having us. Gary St. Fleur, Stakeholder Management. We've done mailings to all the abutters, but I've also gone out and just did door-to-door to all the abutters on Boulevard Street, met with Lowell General Hospital, all the nursing homes in the area, so everybody's aware of what's going on, and are looking forward to it. Because I know we've had outages in the past due to the substation. So when there's an outage, there's a big impact to Lowell General Hospital, and they'll have to cancel like their surgeries for that day.
Yeah,
So-
my surgery got canceled this year,
Sorry.
actually,
Were the
yeah.
lights out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, you gotta be
So-
kidding me.
When we
That was
send it to
because of
people on a
this?
generator.
Oh, I proof, yeah. I'm just kidding.
So everyone's looking forward to it, and I've had one-on-one with almost everybody on the street, so it should be smooth going forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's the length of the construction? About a year, or?
Spring to spring.
So we are looking to start construction about April of 2020, and we should be finishing up by the end of 2020, but there will still be some site restoration and things like that will happen at the end of that first year. So around, we should be done by April of 2021, should be where everything is complete, and the old substation has been removed.
So would you be planting in 2021 then, your planting plan?
Once the construction is all complete and the old substation has been removed, then we will then do all the site restoration at that point in time.
Yeah, so we'll probably want to wait till the spring of 2021 anyways, just because if it ends towards the end of 2020, you probably don't want to plant then. You probably want to wait till the spring.
So what does the profile of that site look like once you're done? Like, out there, it's, right now, I think it's almost pure sand going down quite a ways.
I don't think we're bringing anything.
Are you gonna have, I saw one graphic of like crushed rock somewhere, and
So,
The substation itself is gonna have 6 inches of crushed stone and 18 inches of like imported road base, basically. And the only variation is there's what we call pervious pavers, but it's really like a plastic grid in certain areas.
so that's not really impervious, it's gonna go into a drainage system and be carried away from what's under the,
the pervious pavers should work to infiltrate the site, and any excess that might be needed, we do have the perimeter pipes that will direct the flow to the basin and the spreaders.
It's all really free draining material, what's out there now and what we're proposing.
The perimeter drains are just for any water that would have otherwise run off the site. It will still infiltrate through most of the pervious area throughout the site.
That's correct.
You see the
so,
pictures?
what is the purpose of what's in, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of what's in Boulevard Street? What do those conduits carry? Is that drainage, or is that electrical?
It's electric. It's the distribution feeder out of the substation that goes to the infrastructure. So it'll go to the poles, it'll go to, eventually it'll go directly to the hospital or directly to people's houses. It's what feeds the electricity, correct? Okay.
And how do we get electricity when you're building this?
So the existing substation is going to stay.
Okay,
So that's why the substation doesn't get taken out till the end, because it won't be taken out until the new substation is fully up and running.
so you're building right behind that,
Correct.
gotcha,
That's why we can't use that space. This is why it's needed to be further back. 'Cause
further
we're-
back. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any more questions from the board?
Yeah,
you.
you guys did a good job.
Quite a few pounds of plans.
Yes, 225 pages of NOI. Mainly stormwater report, though.
Do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak on behalf of this project or opposing this project? Seeing none, and you've all come together, so I guess you're all in favor.
So I'll make a motion to
Entertain a
close the
motion
public
to
hearing.
Close the public hearing
I'll
by
second it.
Caitlin,
I'll second.
seconded by Bill. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Before you guys close, I know you wanted that condition, so I didn't know if you wanted to make it an official condition, or you want me to just
We
get it
can
to
do
you
that
guys?
on the next motion.
Okay, sorry.
We're just closing the hearing
Oh,
now.
sorry about that.
No, it's-
Any opposed?
No.
Okay.
Got that, Christine? Yeah. So
Okay, so,
with that, you want me to offer I'll offer a motion to approve this project with the City of Lowell order of standard conditions with a special condition to get a topo map added to the site file. I don't think we need to look at it before.
existing and proposed
Yeah, proposed and existing.
on the same map,
Absolutely.
Oh, you want on the same
on
map?
the same plan.
Oh, that, yeah, so with the darker line, yeah, I get it now. So let me make that clear. So,
We've been traveling a lot this week, so we're tired.
what's that? Yeah, yeah.
We'll need one paper
One hard copy?
with the
Full
wet stamp.
size,
Full size with the wet stamp and electronic.
wet stamp and electronic.
Wet stamp?
Like
For
an
the official
engineered
file,
stamp?
yeah. We have an official file with a wet stamp on everything.
What
For the-
what if we do an electronic stamp and I sign it? You need the ink
Yeah,
stamp?
for public records, we have to have a paper file and an electronic file.
Interesting. City Lowell?
Yeah, some interesting requirements, you guys, that are not for, worked on a lot of commissions. Sorry.
We like antiquities, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Old
so
school.
if it's not clear, I'll restate. I'm gonna offer a motion to issue a City of Lowell order of standard conditions approving this project with the special condition to have an additional figure with both existing and the proposed grades on the same map.
Sounds good.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion or improvement upon that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thanks
motion
for coming.
passes.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's a team.
Lost the agenda. And there it is.
The only other thing we have is just this other business.
Get out of here. I guess everybody's gone home down the hall. Okay, our only other business is an update on 5.1 Thorndike Street, if there's one to be had.
Yes, so,
This was
I'm-
an enforcement order.
yes, so I met with the law department, and they recommended for the time being, we leave both enforcement orders open. But at this point, they don't
Fines.
recommend the Conservation Commission issuing daily fines under the Wetlands Protection Act. However, the health department the senior health inspector is going to issue a final order. If he didn't do it today, he's going to do it at the end of the week. They're going to have both the recycling company and the property owner are going to have 14 days, and then the city's going to go in and clean and lean it.
Okay.
Great.
So I should have an update by the second April meeting, hopefully to tell you that it's all clean.
Sounds like progress,
And thank you for following up on that.
yeah. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Seconded by
Second.
Harry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night.